Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire Up with CJ show. Today we have Arjuna Aradagh and we are talking about his book Better Than Sex. I've kind of I have to say I've been walking around with this book, and as you say in the beginning of the book, people probably read it as better sex, and I don't know what they're thinking about me as I'm carting around your book. So, welcome. We're talking about the ecstatic art of awakening coaching. So, welcome, Arjuna. What were you
Thank you.
anticipating when people were carrying around this book? What's going to happen to them?
Well, the book got the title in a particular way that really felt like just too good to be true. It was a couple of years ago. I was speaking at the United Nations building in Vienna. Uh, the United Nations has three world centers: New York, Geneva, and Vienna. So I
Hmm.
was speaking at the United Nations in Vienna, and then we did a weekend seminar. So on the weekend, we had people from all over the world from the United Nations. And on the Saturday morning, I guided everybody into radical awakening, which we can talk about in a minute what that means.
Yeah,
I guided people into the experience of awakening. And then they had their experience and we went deeper and then they all went home to their hotels or their homes or whatever. Sunday morning they came back and I wanted to know, how are you doing? You see, because a day had passed. I wanted to know,
yeah,
how have you integrated your experience? So somebody said, wow, I feel fantastic. I feel all the stress has left my body. Somebody said, I feel so much love. I had a really great evening with my wife. Somebody said, I feel so much creativity. I've been working on a book and suddenly all the channels got unblocked. Everybody was saying marvelous things.
yeah.
And we got all the way around this circle of people. And finally, this woman who was actually Austrian, she said, I feel so good in my body. I just don't know how to describe it. I feel so good. I've never felt like this. I don't know what to say. It's better than sex.
Yeah, baby. Just what would Freud say? Those Austrians, they're always just pushing the envelope there.
And I just said to her, if it's okay with you, I'm going to make that the title. So
I
that's how
love
that's
it.
how the book got its title. You see,
I love it.
my friend
Okay.
Verena in Austria.
I love it. Okay. So we're going to be talking about awakening coaching and it's funny because I've been answering questions in Quora, and quite a bit of people say, what does it take to be awakened, and what does it take to be enlightened? And you'd started off saying those are different things. So I wanted to clarify, how are those two things different for you?
Okay. Well, I talk about awakening, not awakened. And let me explain
Hmm.
that.
Okay.
The word awakened or enlightened, it suggests some kind of accomplishment in time. Like,
Hmm.
okay, I used to be this regular Joe Schmo and I was not enlightened and not awakened. I was just like a jerk. And then the light kind of suddenly poured through my whole body and now I'm enlightened, you see?
Right.
So that is actually describing an event in time which led to a state of sort of spiritual superiority. And I would say that's basically pretty dangerous
Hmm.
for a few reasons. I'll go through this. So, first of all, I've actually spent most of my life really investigating these questions.
Hmm.
The first thing I can tell you is not people who use that word don't agree on what it means.
Hmm.
It's bandied around. People, there's no consensus on what the word enlightenment is supposed to mean. People have different meanings about it.
Right.
And people also have very different projections about who's enlightened and who's not. Somebody
Right.
will say, well, my teacher, Shri Shri Shri, beyond Banana Mandaraj Shri J, is enlightened, but your teacher is just like a, yeah,
Yeah.
horrible, ugly, rose hair.
Yeah.
So, so people have different thoughts about what it means and who is supposed to be enlightened. Now,
Right.
here's the thing. When you have a word that people don't agree about its meaning, by very definition, that is a concept. It's not a fact, it's a concept, you
Hmm.
see. It's like saying somebody's nice, right? If
Yeah.
people don't agree on who's nice and who's not, and if people don't agree on exactly what it means, therefore it's now a concept.
Right.
So the thing about concepts, any concept, is that it's not true or untrue. Concepts aren't true or untrue. Concepts are just useful or not useful, you see.
Hmm.
So what we've got to ask ourselves with a concept like enlightenment is, what effect does it have on your life?
Hmm.
If you suddenly get this idea about this super enhanced state that you should be in,
Hmm.
and that there's something kind of wrong with or lesser than about the state that you're in now, what does that do to your day? What does that do to your capacity to be creative today? What does that do to your capacity to love, to give your gifts?
Yeah.
Now, what I've noticed is when people get very attached to this concept, it's usually projected into their own future or onto somebody else.
Mm.
And obviously, if you're projecting that your future is better than your present and somebody else is better than who you are, obviously that's going to have a diminishing effect on your capacity to love and be
Mm.
brilliant and give your gift today. So I would say the real leap in spiritual and emotional and human maturity is not to become enlightened, but to abandon your subscription to that concept. When you abandon your subscription to the idea of a better future or some better person than you, what are you left with? What have you got left to deal with when you've unplugged your hamster wheel existence of trying to get somewhere else? Obviously, what you've got left is now,
Yeah.
this moment now. And then, if we can quote the most mature, beautiful, gorgeous, brilliant, unbelievable bard of our age is Leonard Cohen, the most gorgeous man on the planet, who says, "Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's
Mm.
a crack in everything.
Hmm.
That's how the light gets in." See, let me say that
Mm.
again. It's so astounding. I mean, nobody's ever said anything that beautiful. Ring the bells that still can ring.
Mm.
Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So that's
Mm.
what's left when you give up your belief in a better tomorrow, is you've just got now. Don't you give up on trying to perfect yourself, on some trying to be some kind of immaculate, super improved human being. You're just the schmuck that you are, but light can shine through you. You see, in this imperfect state, in this brokenness, in this absurdity of the little me, light can shine through, light from an unknown source. And that is the possibility of being brilliant today in this lifetime. That's the possibility of loving so completely that not only you're impressed with yourself, but your teenage children are impressed too. And that's when you know something real is happening.
You're teenage. That's actually your signs that you're an awakened person. When your teenagers actually love and enjoy you in your even in your uncoolness. Okay, so
I think there's another
interesting.
point. There's another point to mention about this. You see that the thing stays beautiful and fresh and innocent and gorgeous when it's always now. You see,
Mm,
yesterday's peak experience, yesterday's moment of presence is gone. It's like food that you leave out on the counter overnight. You don't want to eat it the next day. It's got mold already.
mm-hmm.
Except with spiritual experiences, the mold goes in 5 minutes. With food, you've got a day or two. With peak experiences, they're moldy in 5 minutes. So that's why I don't like words that end in ed, because
Mm-hmm.
it suggests that now we're going to rest on our laurels. Last week I had a peak experience. Today I'm awakened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really awakened. How about you? You're not so awakened. I'm awakened. It very quickly gets to be
All
some kind
right.
of obnoxious superiority.
Yeah.
Better just to let it go. You have a peak experience, big deal. Let it go. Let's have another one now, and another one now, and another
Yeah.
one now. So each moment is fresh. I like awakening. Awakening
Mm.
is always now and now and now.
Right. It's not a
And
state of being. It's a state of moment by moment by moment.
and it leaves the possibility to constantly fall, to constantly
Mm.
make a fool of yourself, to constantly fall apart,
Mm-hmm.
and then to shine again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if someone is awakening, so that's moment. So what is? How does one know if someone is even awakening? How does someone know that they're? I was looking on the internet for typical questions people ask, and they say, "Well, how do I know that I'm awakening?" Aside from in
Okay.
the morning when my eyes open, or
Right.
is it the same thing?
Right. Okay. In a way, yes. So look, let's do a little litmus test here.
Okay.
Can you hear the sound of my voice now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you hear all the words or just some of them?
I hear, it depends on what mode I'm in, but I can hear all the words.
Right now, let's keep it simple. Right
Okay,
now,
yeah.
you hear everything, right?
Yes.
Does it take any effort or decision to hear my voice?
No, not really. I mean, I'm trying to listen to them carefully because I'm doing a radio interview.
Sure, sure, sure. Does it take yeah, I know, but you don't just to hear the sound. I mean,
No.
or I could just go, nah, 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 nah. Does it take any effort to hear that?
Yeah, that takes a little bit of effort because it's irritating.
That's
But
different. I'm not, I'm asking if it just takes effort to hear it.
no, I can hear it.
You don't have to make any effort just to hear a sound when it's in your ear, right?
Yes, correct.
Do you have to think to just hear the sound, not to make sense of it or analyze it or come back with something brilliant in response,
No,
but
I can
just
hear it.
know without thought, right?
Yeah,
And do you actually subjectively experience any time delay between the sound and the experience of the sound?
I do, but maybe that's because I'm thinking.
Right. So what I'm asking is, do you experience a time delay between the sound in your ear and the experience of the sound?
No.
No. Okay. So actually hearing, which is a completely natural thing, is happening all the time, effortlessly, thoughtlessly, timelessly. This is a
Hmm.
fact, you see.
Hmm.
But hearing, which we take for granted, is actually occurring in every moment without thought, without time, without effort.
Hmm.
Now, we could run this test again. Do you see my hand moving?
Hmm.
How many fingers do you see?
5,
How many now?
4.
Four. You're very good at this. Okay.
Thank
Do
you.
you, do you have to think to see the fingers?
No.
Do you have to make any effort or decision to see these fingers when they're right in front of you?
No.
Is there any time delay in your experience between the fingers being here and your experience of the fingers being here?
No.
So seeing is also thoughtless, timeless, and effortless, right?
Hmm.
So that which is seeing and feeling is already completely here. There's no, it's not like you've done really well to be able to see, oh my God, you're a seer and you're a hearer. Congratulations.
Right.
None of that. It's like, it's natural. It's who you are. Who
Yeah.
you are is that which sees and feels. And we know it's who you are because you say, I hear the sound. I see the fingers, right?
Hmm.
You identify with that which sees and hears, right?
Hmm.
So what is it? You see, we take it for granted, but what is it? What is it that actually hears sound and sees movement? Whatever it is, it's right here. And it's clearly not that which is thinking because you just told me it's thoughtless.
Right.
So how would you describe that which is seeing and feeling?
Just oh, it's like a presence. I don't know what it is.
Beautiful, beautiful.
An
It's just
alien presence, perhaps.
okay.
In my case,
Yeah. But you see, you said it's just present,
it
and
is
you
presence.
also said something very significant. You said I don't really know what it is. You see,
Yeah,
it's
I
very
don't.
innocent. Okay. So when we investigate this with people, we discover that without achieving any higher state, without any kind of spiritual ambition, what is already true in this moment is that sounds are heard, movement is seen, body sensations are felt, and that which is hearing and seeing and feeling is thoughtless, timeless, and effortless, you see.
Hmm.
That actually has no boundaries. It has no
Mm.
content. It receives content. It has no content. It is neither male nor female. It has no gender.
Hmm.
It has no age.
Hmm.
That, you see, is the nature of unborn awareness. And you don't have to achieve anything to be that. You are already that. It's just we are distracted by a very compelling soap opera called a personal life.
Mm.
As soon as we relax our grip on that soap opera a little bit, what remains is innocent and free.
Okay, so my original question is, what are the signs of awakening? And what I think your answer was, that's that part of me that wants to know the signs, to know where I am on a guidepost. Where am I? Am I awakened or not? Am I elevated or not? Am I good or not? That's the part that you're saying, drop that. Because if you actually tune into what's thoughtless, effortless, you already have it. There's not a sign. It's just a
Exactly.
feeling, a sensation. It's not. There's not necessarily. I guess if there is a sign, it's the sign that there's no thoughts, just the
Yeah.
emptiness. That's. I guess if there is a sign, that's one sign.
CJ, where are you right now? Where are you located in America?
Seattle, Washington.
Seattle, Washington. It's a city I've lived in actually myself. Which part of Seattle are you in?
In Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Okay. I used to live in Phinney Ridge near Green Lake,
Hmm.
you know. So tell me, if you wanted to go to Spokane,
Hmm.
What would you have to do?
I'd have to go on to I-5, get myself on I-5, and then just go, I think, south. I don't know.
Spokane is actually east. I think it's,
East.
yeah, it's on, I think, when it's on a different
I
freeway.
can't even
Anyway,
achieve my destiny.
it's
I'm
okay.
screwed.
It's okay. Spokane is probably not your destiny. Okay. So
Thank God.
no, it's a good place. So Spokane would require time and effort, right? And
Yes.
and money because you'd have to pay for the gas,
Right.
right? What about if you wanted to go to Los Angeles? What would you have to do?
I'd have to go south again, and again, it'll cost time, money, effort.
Yeah, you'd probably fly actually to
Yeah.
Los Angeles. So you'd
Yeah.
have to buy a ticket and it would take some engineering.
Yeah.
What about if you wanted to go to Moscow? What would you have to do then?
Same thing with the LA scenario. And probably learn the language and then learn a little bit about
You'd also
the
need a visa
geography.
for
Yeah.
Russia,
Yep,
you see.
that's true.
Okay, but tell me, what do you have to do to be in Roosevelt, Washington?
Mm, just be here, I guess.
Right, nothing. The answer is nothing, you
Yeah.
see. For you to get to Roosevelt, Washington, you just got to relax any ambition, and you're already here. You see, if you started putting a lot of effort into trying to get to Roosevelt, I
Mm-hmm.
would say relax and pay attention to where you already are. Your struggle is unnecessary, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the same. For you to be this radiant consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take effort, it doesn't take ambition. It takes relaxing and paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the meaning of awakening. That's why we call it waking up, awakening, not achieving. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is we are so used to achieving that we want to make awakening, which is about relaxing and being here, into some kind of achievement. So now we can claim superiority. But it's not like that. You see, you're
Yeah.
already here. You're already here, but distracted by the ambition to get somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Relax the ambition for a moment, and you'll discover that you already are this radiant, brilliant consciousness. You already are love itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take any credit for that. It's your nature. It's not some
Mm-hmm.
achievement. It's your nature. The interesting thing now becomes not how to get to where you already are. That's kind of
I'm
a
already
wa-
there.
it's
Yeah.
a waste of energy to try and get where you already are. The interesting thing becomes how life can be lived from this recognition.
Mm-hmm.
How can this impact your parenting, your lovemaking,
Mm-hmm.
your intimate relationships, your relationship with your parents, your relationship with co-workers? How can it affect the way that you give your gift in the world? How can it affect your social and political action and your creativity? That's what's interesting. That actually is an endless exploration. Now that we've recognized who I really am is limitless consciousness, not separate from anything else. Who I am is the essence of love itself. Who I am is actually the source from which all creativity and brilliance arises. And I can't do anything about that. It's not something to be proud of. It's just what I am. Now, how can that be lived? How can we dissolve all the unnecessary habits of resistance and belief and restriction so that this gift can give itself in this lifetime? That is what my work is all about, is freeing it up so that it can give its gift and be brilliant.
Now here is the problem, right? It's what you stated earlier. The problem is, at least for I have this goal, which I know is not what is exactly the antithesis of what you're saying, but I have a goal to live my life in that particular way that you're
Beautiful.
describing. But
Well, why
then
don't why don't you call it an intention?
I have an intention.
That's a nice word. You have an
What's the
intention.
difference? I think that they're the same.
Well, just that when you said goal, you were expressing some little bit of discomfort. I'm wondering if you say the word intention a bit
Ah, okay.
comfortable. All right. So
Okay.
you have the intention to live your true essence in every way. Do you have children?
Yes, I do. Two
How many? How
teenagers. Two
two teenagers?
teenagers, 13 and 15.
Okay, good. That's actually quite a challenging age for a parent
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
pass through. Boys or girls?
Two boys.
Two boys. Okay, I've also raised two boys that are a little older now. So do they kind of think you're an idiot at this point?
Sometimes
Yeah.
depends.
Well, if
Yeah.
it's only sometimes, you're lucky because most teenage boys at that age think their parents are complete fools.
Yeah.
So it's a challenging age. So would you say you have the intention to show up as a mother in the most present, loving way that can really nurture them to the maximum?
I do. Yeah.
That's a beautiful intention. I totally support you in that, and that's where living as this radiant consciousness can really help you to be actually to let go of being a mother as a separate entity and to allow kind of that universal mothering to flow through you so they grow up to be beautiful young men who are grateful and aware of all the gifts that you gave them. Maybe they're aware
Mm-hmm.
of that already, you see. But you can, that inquiry just went into with parenting. We could apply that to anything, to your radio show, to, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you do. Is this your full-time job or do you have another work you do
I
as
have a
well?
life coach.
Life coach, yeah.
Yeah.
So to be the most beautiful, crazy, amazing life coach that you could possibly be, to be everything you could possibly be, the best way for you to become the very best version of yourself is to actually to be erased as a separate entity, you see.
Mm-hmm.
When the sense of me as separate melts and you recognize who you really are as oceanic and is doesn't really have any hard edges, then that will flow through you, and in the absence of what you thought was you, brilliance can happen. You see, good
Mm-hmm.
ideas happen when you step out of the way.
I know, but here's the problem. It's the interferences that step in the way and handling those. So even the sense of achievement, that's one which societally, and I am certainly have that same issue, and probably a lot of the listeners do. I mean, we're raised in a society where we think that there's steps, there's signs, there's steps, there's a progression before we reach our very best. And I think that in itself is a hard thing, right? I mean, we have those kinds of things. And maybe you can demonstrate because you were talking about the radical releasing. Like, how do I radically release that ever present feeling that I need to be achieving within a certain period of time? And I don't know, or maybe that's not how the radical releasing
Well,
works.
let me just jam on that for a minute. So
Okay.
I've been working in this area now for about 25 years with awakening coaching and longer than that with training people. I
Mm-hmm.
started in 1983, so I don't know how long that's 30 years, I suppose 83, I think, yeah, 30 years. So in that time, my colleagues and I in awakening coaching, we've really been able to investigate deeply what is it that gets in the way of living this brilliance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Living your true nature. Now, in a way, it seems very illogical. How could you possibly be separated from what you are? You
Mm-hmm.
could lose your car keys,
Right.
right? If you go to one of those really big shopping malls that they have actually up where you live, um, if you go to one of those massive shopping malls that has Macy's and Nordstrom surrounded by like 5,000 cars in
Right.
parking lots, you could you could lose your car. That's legitimate. You could actually forget where you parked
Mm-hmm.
your car.
Yeah.
You could lose all kinds of things. But to lose yourself, that seems kind of strange. How could you lose who you are? And
Mm-hmm.
yet people do talk about that. They say, I lost it. I had this moment of awakening. I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives us the interesting question. What happens when we have this subjective experience of losing it? What really happens? What is the nature of the experience of losing yourself? How can that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So some people would say, "Oh, it's the ego. It's the ego got in the way." Well, let's have a look. Let's zoom out and see what is the ego. What does that mean? You see,
Mm-hmm.
it's Sigmund Freud borrowed a word from Latin. It's actually the first person singular it means I. Ego just means I in Latin. It's just a word for speaking. And he made it into this map of ego, superego, id, which got translated in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time Freud was translated into English. And then it got grabbed onto by this kind of new age movement as now this big problem with the ego. Freud never used that word as an entity to get rid of. He was just trying to
Mm-hmm.
describe the functionings of the psyche. And now all the new age spiritual people say, "Oh God, my ego, I've got to get rid of my ego." But I mean, Shakespeare never mentions that. Who we respect greatly as a great
Mm-hmm.
wise person. No, historically, a lot of people who were very wise and seemed to really tap into the essence of things, they didn't talk about the ego. So what is it? You see, it's just a concept, it's another concept that
Mm-hmm.
we get all tied up in it. So actually, what is the ego? It's not, it's just a concept. So then people say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, it's the mind." Okay, the mind gets in the way, it's the mind.
Right.
What's the mind? The mind is actually just a way of talking about a procession of thoughts. If you freeze frame, all you've got is a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a thought does not interfere with presence. You see, with being this radiant presence, you can invite any thought to appear in that. Makes no difference. Then
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Oh, it's negative emotions. I've got these negative feelings, got to get rid of my negative emotions." That's also not true. You see, What's a negative emotion? Like anger. People say that's a negative emotion. If you really go into anger, not projecting on somebody else, but if you really just go into anger, really entering into anger actually returns you very beautifully to that radiant consciousness. So none of the things that we think are in the way actually prove to be true. So we're back to this question. What is it that happens when people say, I lost it? I lost connection with myself.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is, I tell you, the answer is resistance, you see, resistance. Whenever there is a moment of resisting what is naturally occurring,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a thought or a feeling or an event or your mother-in-law,
Right.
whenever there's the feeling of resisting what is occurring, that mixture of things naturally arising with resistance creates a ridge where before there was a flow, and that is the very essence of being disconnected from yourself and from life. So actually all we really need to do is to relax resistance. We don't have to change our thinking.
No, but that just seems to me to use a different word. You just use, instead of ego, I, negative emotions, you just replace it with resistance. In my mind, so help me make the. Sorry to be dense, but I don't
No,
get
that's
it.
okay. Yeah, I understand. Well, you see, resistance is a reflex. It's not a thing. So when we
Okay.
understand, I mean, when we understand that this thing's moving, it gets resisted, and it's that very resistance that is at the essence, then you recognize all I have to do is learn to relax resistance and things.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Versus like if I think it's an ego, then it's like this concept of me and my ego and my I-ness and my negative emotions. They're
it
more
sets you
concepts.
into a whole process of working on yourself,
I see.
which
Okay.
I do not really think is a very good idea. So radical releasing is a very simple technique
Okay.
to relax resistance. And what I would suggest we do actually, CJ, I think the best way to serve your listeners
Mm-hmm.
are people listening to this right
Yeah,
now?
and they got a lot of questions. Do you what should we do the releasing
Yeah.
or do you want to hear the questions?
Well,
The releasing, please.
what I was going to say was, I don't know if you have a way to contact people later, but we could actually give people like some downloads where they could actually listen to radical releasing happening, because
Okay.
I've got these done on audio.
Yeah.
And because the thing about doing it live now is like it's a little artificial on the, because it's a very deep personal thing. I'm
Right.
just a bit concerned sometimes on a radio interview that it's taking something very deep and intimate and real and making it into a kind of demonstration on the radio. I don't
Right.
mind to do it. I just wanted to let you know that I kind of respect you as a human being a little more than making you into a party trick. So um, I'm happy to do it with you now if you like, but I also think that we could serve people very well by giving them a
Okay.
down. Why don't we do this? Look, let's do something right now. Very simple.
Okay.
Let's we can do this right now on the air, and then
Okay.
I'll be delighted to talk to people. Let's take my website, arjunaardagh.com. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so ARJUNAARDAGH,
Right.
arjunaardagh.com, right? And let's just say /CJ radio. Okay,
Okay.
arjunaardagh.com /CJ radio. Now give me a day, okay, because I've got to get it put up.
Yeah.
This time tomorrow, there will be a page where you can go and get yourself a bunch of
Can we
downloads.
make it fire it up with CJ radio and that would actually be better? Is that okay?
Well, I'm just going to make it the URL. Let's make it
Okay,
really,
yeah. Okay,
because
good.
the
CJ
URL
radio. Got it.
CJRADIO, just short and simple.
Okay.
Come back in 1 or 2 days. We'll have a page for you with a bunch of demonstrations on it as my gift to you.
God bless you. Thank you. That's nice.
As we get into Thanksgiving as the Christmas season. So
That's
I'll
nice.
give you a
Thank you.
bunch of free downloads. Just give me a day or two. All
Okay,
right?
thank you. Okay, so let's answer some of the questions that people
Yeah.
have. How about it? Okay, let's see.
Can we get people live on with us?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Folks, oh gosh, what is the phone number that they call again? I have some chats. So, all right. So first of all, the easy one, what is the book again? It's called Better Than Sex. What is better than sex? Well, awakening and the radical releasing process, right? That's what you did at the UN. You did the radical releasing process.
Well, not at the UN, but no, it was Radical Awakening.
Radical awakening.
Radical Awakening we did on the Saturday morning. That was what caused people to say all
Okay.
those amazing things.
Okay. Okay.
Better Than Sex, you can get it from Amazon as a Kindle edition or as a physical book. You can get it from my website, arjunaardagh.com. You can get it for your Apple device on iTunes. You can get it all kinds of ways. I personally really like to encourage people to use digital devices because it doesn't waste trees and waste paper. You know, we're in a digital age now. Let's take advantage of it.
Okay. Oh, okay. So here's a call-in number: 985-467-1467. 985-467-1467. And while we're waiting for someone to call in, let me ask some other questions. So,
Yeah, good.
um, so is that in the so how do we focus on? Okay, so I think it was you were saying you were saying that part of what we need to do is just focus on the fact that we aren't separate, that we actually are one with everything, that instead of kind of creating these artificial boundaries with I and the ego and negative emotions. Um,
Well, hang on. Let me just comment on what you've said so
yes.
far. Okay. So it's an important distinction to make between concept and experience, you
Hmm.
see. Now, for example, if you're hungry, what's the name of the person asking so I can answer
I
them?
don't have the name. I'm
Okay,
sorry. I
no
just had
worries. Yeah, okay. So, if you're, so whoever you are,
yeah.
dear caller, okay. If you're hungry, all right, if you're hungry, reading a book about nutrition may be interesting, but it's not going to have any effect at all on alleviating your hunger. You need to eat a meal, right?
Hmm.
If you're horny, reading a book about the biochemistry of sex isn't going to actually alleviate your horniness. You need to make love, right?
Right.
So, in the same way, having a thought or an understanding or a concept about being one with everything or trying to change what you focus on, it's not going to do anything.
Mm,
It's just conceptual. What we need is direct experience. That means to have direct recognition of the nature of consciousness as infinite. In the same way, if you walk, if anybody, whoever you are, if you walk outside right now, unless you're in Europe, this is daylight right now.
hmm.
So if you walk outside and look up into the sky, you see infinity, right?
Hmm.
That's an amazing thing, by the way. If you look out outside, look up, it's blue, and it goes on forever. Oh my
Hmm.
God, that's incredible. It goes on forever. Wow. So just let that seep in for a minute. You look up into the sky and there is no edge. I mean, your mind cannot understand that. As far as you go, you're still only halfway there, right? It
Mm,
goes on infinitely. Your mind cannot grasp that. When you look into infinity and try and grasp the infinite nature of the universe, it blows your mind. Now, in the
hmm.
same way, when you turn the attention to your own true nature, to your own who you actually are, there is a similar recognition available that who you are is silence itself, has
Hmm.
no boundaries, no limits. There is no dotted red line where you end and everything else begins. You are oceanic. You are the essence of which everything is made, which
Hmm.
actually means, in a very freaky way, we are now, it's the same thing talking to itself right now.
Hmm.
See, Arjuna, CJ, it's actually two voices of the same consciousness. So this is completely not how we've been conditioned. That recognition, not as a concept, not as, oh, I'm one with everything, but as a direct recognition, that will change everything.
Hmm.
That will change your sexuality, your relating, that will change your parenting, that will unleash a wellspring of creativity, that will completely transform your world. And this is what I want to say. Okay, this is where I get a little bit fire and brimstone, like a kind of Baptist preacher. Okay.
Okay, let's hear it, man.
All right. Okay. You say it, preacher, because you see, you've got to make a fundamental choice. You've got to make a fundamental choice today. All right.
Hmm.
You've got to decide, do I want this to be simple or complex? Now, history will demonstrate that both are available.
Hmm.
There have been tons of people historically who have made this very complex, and there have been plenty of people who have said, no, this is crazy simple, right? Buddha said this is crazy simple. Many people have recognized, wow, there's nothing to it. It's we made all this fuss about something that's ridiculously simple. I'm saying to you today, this is simple. If it becomes complex, you're missing the point. The nature of who you really are, which is the key to everything you long for, is fundamentally simple. Now, you've got to make a choice. You've got to make a choice today. Do I want this to be complex or do I want this to be simple? If you choose complex, believe me, there are an endless number of books and theories available. You can twirl your chakras, you can explore your past lives, you can clear your karma, you can
Right.
balance your kundalini, you can do whatever you want. It's endless, the stuff you can do to tweak yourself. and it gets more and more and more complex. That's the nature of the whole New Age spiritual
Right.
subculture, right? If, however, you prefer simple, then let's talk. My book is about simple, but better than sex. It's about simple. What what I'm suggesting is to get this whole thing out of the way very quickly, right? This
Mm-hmm.
whole matter of who you really are. Let's dispense with that very quickly, hygienically. Like, okay, you are infinite consciousness. That's the beginning and the end of it. Matter done. Let's have a taste, recognize it. Now, let's get on with the real work of allowing that to flow through the carcass, the corpse of a human being, to let that flow through where there used to be a person so that brilliance can start to happen.
Yeah.
It sounds a little scary at first to say, I talk about corpse or carcass, but actually you recognize who you really are as this infinite consciousness anyway. So all that dies is that which was never there in the first place. And
Mm-hmm.
then everything gets lit up, you see, then everything becomes beautiful. And then
Mm-hmm.
every word that drips out of your mouth is somehow a gift to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to be willing for this to be simple. If you want to work on yourself and be involved in a long process of self-improvement and healing your childhood wounds, then go for it. But I've got nothing to help you with there. If you're
Right.
interested in this being profoundly simple and starting to live each moment as a radical, outrageous gift of love and brilliance, then let's talk.
Okay, so can everyone do it? I mean, so for example, when
No,
you
no,
actually
nobody can do it. Nobody can do it.
No, but
That
here's what I
that
mean. Okay.
no. Let me nail that right there.
Okay.
That which thinks I can do it has to be put aside. You see, that is an aberration. That which is, oh, I can do it. That is a little contracted knot in what is otherwise flowing and easy. I can't. The one who does things is just a train wreck. It's just an interference with the flow of life. That dissolves and then it does itself. You see, if
Mm,
there's somebody thinking I can do it, that's got to relax. When you relax and relax and relax, then it does itself and it will give its gift through you. Right now, for example, okay, I'm not speaking. There isn't me. It's like you're asking questions and something just flows. It's just bleh. It's just it comes through. It's just opening a tap and water flows. It's just that it's not the perfect analogy because it's the water flowing through that actually opens the tap as well. You see,
right.
it's just
Right.
happening on its own, and
Right.
that's how life is beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
And
So people.
it's not complex. There's no qualifications. Listen, let me tell you one thing. I'm not Indian, right?
Yeah.
I haven't spent 40 years living in a cave. None of that. I'm just a regular schmuck. I mean, I grew up in London in the 1950s. I came from a very neurotic background. There was a lot of unhappiness and neurosis in my family. The only reason I got into any of this was out of suffering. I'm
Mhm.
just a regular Joe like anybody else. I'm just a
Mhm.
new age, I'm not a new age, a baby boomer kind of, what's it called?
Yeah.
It's not,
Baby boomer.
yeah, I'm just a regular guy, right? Who happens to have been willing to sit still for a moment and recognize the truth. If that can happen to a thoroughly dysfunctional person like me, it can happen to anybody. All right.
All right. So what is your? So you've been experiencing this and playing around with this idea for a while.
Mm.
What's you used to be neurotic,
No, no,
dysfunctional
not used
family,
to be. I
whatever.
still am. I'm completely neurotic. As a human, as a separate entity, I'm totally neurotic now. It's just that if the only thing that's happened is the resistance is relaxed. I don't have any. Well, it's not. That's not true. But all that's happened really is there's less resistance. You see, I mean, I used to be a neurotic, desperately trying to be something else. Now I'm just a neurotic, relaxed about it, but allowing that gift to flow through. You said, I'm not, let's not focus on me. There's nothing special about me. I mean, I've trained 1,500 people to be awakening
But I
coaches.
want to follow you. Be my guru. I just
Okay, well,
can't.
first you must give me all your money. Let's move to your house. I will need both of your children as my slaves to work in my ashram. No problem. I will need a Rolls Royce. 'Cause I am. Yes. Shri, Shri, Shri. Yeah, you see, it's just, I mean, let's just come back again to what we talked about at the beginning.
Okay.
Leonard Cohen is actually one of my favorite people. I've had the very good fortune to spend time with him. And he says, forget, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light shines in.
Mm-hmm.
Forget perfecting yourself. Ring the bells that still can ring. See,
Mm-hmm.
forget some kind of perfection, some kind of working, doing another seminar to become the perfect you. Forget healing your childhood trauma. It's not repairable. It's inherently broken. Just allow yourself to be available. Allow yourself to become a conduit for something to flow through you. Be of service to the collective awakening of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And brilliance takes over, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Juiciness takes over, love takes over.
Hmm.
It's all very simple. It's very simple and natural and easy.
Okay, but what do you do during your still neurotic states? You hit the
I love,
resistance. You know,
I
you kind
love
of
how,
hit resistance.
I,
You're a little bit softer than you were like resisting before. So what does it look like now? Is it kind of like a soft, gooey kind of resistance, like a memory foam bed? I mean, what happens now, and what do you
well,
do?
you can see we're having a good time. We're laughing together, right?
Yes,
Aren't we having fun together?
of course. I always have fun. Don't
Well,
you? You have fun all the time. I can tell from watching like a bajillion of your videos.
yeah, totally. So that we're doing it. You see, we're allowing the dance to dance us together. And when we notice that we become serious or contracted or try and change things or solve things, we know that somehow we've gone a little insane, and then we can shake it off and come back to being danced again, you see.
Okay. So how you have to recognize at a point that I'm resisting. So it's really just the thought to know, I'm resisting. And all I have to do is relax into this moment.
That sounds pretty good, but I think before that sounds like an intelligent step. I think, but before we go there, let's start
Yes.
off with another question. Start off with a couple of questions. Now you're getting into the kind of how to. Okay, so let's give
Okay.
some steps. 7 steps to a perfect you. Get ready now. Okay.
But it's simple. I hope
40,
it's zero
49,
steps.
95. So here's a few little tips. Okay.
Okay.
Number one good question that you could ask yourself is, what is my deepest longing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is my deepest longing? We've got desire, things we
Right.
want, things we desire, but what is my deepest longing?
Yes.
What is it that I really long for? That question will take you deeper to what we've been conditioned to think we want, into actually a deeper longing, which the mind cannot clearly articulate, but the heart cannot forget. So
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to have to return to the longing to come home to yourself, to
Mm-hmm.
relax,
Mm-hmm.
to remember the spaciousness that is your true nature. So that's one tip. Second tip is what I already asked: is ask yourself the question, do I prefer simple or complex? It may sound like a stupid question, but it's a good question, because most people, they say, "Oh, I really want this to be simple," but look at how we live our lives. Our lives are not a testimony to a loyalty to simplicity. Our lives often demonstrate a loyalty to complexity. So
Mm-hmm.
that's number two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The third important question, if you want to kind of do it yourself approach, the third important question is to ask in each moment, who is experiencing this? You see? When things are happening and there's this kind of rush of getting things done, just stop and ask, who is hearing the sounds right now?
Mm-hmm.
Who is feeling the sensations in the body? Who is seeing all of this? And you'll recognize that just underneath the appearance of vibration, there is stillness in every
Mm-hmm.
moment. However
Mm-hmm.
crazy and fast it may seem, just underneath the speed, there is stillness, there is spaciousness, there is relaxation. Now, then, if you want another step would be to ask in each moment, well, actually, we can break it down. You said, what am I resisting? That's a good question. But another thing would be to develop a very skeptical relationship to belief.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you notice yourself with a strong belief, like, yeah, it's like this, it should be like this, just ask, wait a minute, is that true? Would everybody on the planet agree with that? Is it
Mm-hmm.
really true?
Mm-hmm.
So letting go of rigid positions around things allows things to flow more. When you notice you're in a rigid position, you could also ask yourself, could I just let go? Could I let go of being right about this? Could I let go of having my own way and allow things to flow again? You see,
Mm-hmm.
we're remodeling our house right now. We've got a new house, and my wife has a lot of changing ideas about the color to paint things and so on. And so it's a really good practice for me, because I got a lot of say in where to put the walls. I did a lot of the
Yeah.
remodeling with my own hands, and now she's buying furniture and decorating. And sometimes she comes up with some very intense colors and she's, oh, I think I like this color. And then am I going to be right about it? Or am I going to say, okay, let's try that. Let's try that. Let's try that. You see, so those are a bunch of tips. You see now, but I also want to say one thing. A little bit of a actually, I want to say a little bit about um, what we could call self-help. There's this kind of idea of self-help, and I think the way that self-help came about, which is a fairly recent term, it came about as a reaction to hierarchical methods of growing.
Hmm.
So a lot of us grew up, with teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly we grew up with religions that were very hierarchical, like Catholicism, for example. It's got
Mm.
the Pope and then the cardinals and then
Right.
the
Someone had to teach us how to do something, and yeah, yeah.
so we most of us grew up in very hierarchical context. It was so the way we were schooled, very hierarchical. So we when we matured and saw how limiting hierarchy is, we said, okay, I don't want anyone telling me what to do anymore. I want self-help. I want to do it for myself.
Right.
So then you go buy a book. It says, 7 steps to the perfect you. I don't want anybody to help me. I'm going to do this myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see, there are things that you can do for yourself, and there are things that you really can't do so well for yourself. For example, try and tickle yourself. You try and actually tickle yourself. Even if you're really ticklish when somebody else tickles you, it's almost impossible to tickle yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very difficult to shock yourself, like to go like, shh, 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 boo. You can't actually, you can do that with somebody else, but you can't actually give
Yeah.
yourself a shock, you see. I think another thing would be, it would be very inadvisable to do brain surgery on yourself. Right? Even if you're a really good brain surgeon, right? Imagine a
Yes.
really top-notch brain surgeon. Well, I'm the best brain surgeon in the country. I do everything for myself. I'm going to just do it for myself. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the best brain surgeon, better off having somebody else help you out. You see?
Okay.
So there are things that are really better done with help. And I would say what we're talking about here, waking up into the recognition of your true nature and living from there, you don't have to do that for yourself. It's not necessary, because then it's like it's the habits of reactive thought trying to free themselves. So that's why I love the idea of coaching. So you're a coach, I'm a
Yeah.
coach. Coaching's great. These days everyone says I'm a coach. It's
Yeah.
got to be a little bit blasé. What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm a coach. Well, what kind of coach are you? I'm a divorce coach. I'm a relationship coach. I'm a find a coach coach. I'm a coach to help you find the best coach. There's so many kinds of coaches.
Right.
Got a bit blasé. Oh, you're a coach. You're another coach. You see.
Right.
But actually, coaching is a really revolutionary thing, because 25 years ago, literally 25 years ago, if you said I'm a coach, it meant one thing only. It meant sports. Right?
Exactly.
25 years ago, you were a basketball coach, a golf coach, tennis coach, but that was it. And it was, as you know, it was Thomas J. Leonard and a bunch of other people who recognized the brilliance of that relationship, that in
Mm-hmm.
sports, a sports coach is not saying I'm better than you, let me teach you. A sports coach is saying you're better than me, let me support you
Mm-hmm.
to win the gold medal, you see. So coaching is a beautiful relationship that is anti-hierarchical, non-hierarchical. And that's why we've turned awakening into a coaching method. We have awakening coaching is a coaching method.
Okay, there were a bunch of questions before who wanted to know about where to go. So they can go to your website, or also awakeningcoachingtraining.com, correct?
Well, actually, no, come on by my website, because we're
Okay.
Awakening Coaching, we're just renovating. And
Okay, tell us your website again.
Just my
AR.
name, ArjunaAradagh.com. ArjunaAradagh.com. That's my name.
Okay.
Can't remember that, just go to Amazon and type better than sex and you'll get my name. From there you can go to my website. It's just my name, arjunaardagh.com. I've just kind of renovated the website, and it's got some free gifts, and it's got
Okay.
link to better than sex. It's generally
And people wanted to know, someone was asking, do you still do coaching or online coaching or classes? And is that
Yeah,
on your website?
I do. Now I do coach people one-on-one, and everybody has a niche. You see, there's lots of different kinds of coaches. So my niche is brilliance. That's what I like to coach people in. I don't coach people in healing pain or or any of that. That's not my thing. I coach people who have something that wants to be birthed through them that's going to make a huge impact on the world. So I coach people to write books.
Mm.
If somebody's got a screenplay, I've coached screenplay writers and directors in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I coach policymakers in Washington D.C. I'm getting older, so I want to make the most difference I can. So I coach people who are ready to make a huge impact on the world, right? So I coach people at Google. I coach people who are in big companies who have the possibility to really change the world. So that's my one-on-one work. But I've trained 1,500 people, and a lot of I've got coaches who can coach you in anything. So
Hmm.
anything you've got going on, I can recommend the right person for you. And yes, we have online training. You can find out about that
Hmm.
at my website. And we do online classes as well.
Okay.
There's nothing scheduled right now because I've been traveling and I'm writing a new book. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff. So come on by, get on my mailing list, and I'll let you know when we've got more cool stuff happening.
Thank you so much. You're so much fun. Is fun one of your fun is one of your brilliant gifts,
Takes
don't
one
you
to
think?
know one.
Better than
When
sex.
you stop working on yourself, the only thing you've got left is fun. And notice one thing what I said, you don't stop working on yourself because you fixed yourself. You stop working on yourself because you abandon hope of ever fixing yourself. You see, you abandon hope. You realize
Hmm.
I am intrinsically broken, intrinsically dysfunctional. I'm never going to fix myself. I'm just going to relax and use the broken parts for recycling, you see. And when you use them for recycling, they get picked up and used by something that is much more intelligent and creative than a separate me.
I think that's the most demotivating statement. I like the brilliant. I like finding my brilliant self
Well, if I've been
versus like
success,
letting go of the bad. I'm
if
fundamentally broken. I don't like that.
if I've been successful in demotivating you from working on yourself, from just relaxing, accepting yourself as you are, I've worked with women, for example, particularly it happens for women who've reached their 40s, right?
Yeah.
And they've put on a little extra weight. They've
Yes.
put on 20
And you know
extra
what? We
pounds.
actually have to end. I feel so sad, but I'll continue. I'm
Right.
sorry. We want to hear it, but I'm getting the wrap it up. Wrap it
Get-
up.
Getting the whistle. Okay. Well,
All
let me
right.
just say quickly about the women thing. I
Yeah.
just I just help those women to they think they want to go back to when they were 20. I just say relax. So now you're in your 40s, you've got a little extra weight. Quit the struggle and you're beautiful like you are. You see,
Yeah.
you can extrapolate that out to everything. You're beautiful the way that you are. Let light shine through you. Don't try and fix the don't try and fix the cup. Just pour the champagne in and let the cup be the way that it is.
Oh, beautiful. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Better than sex.
Buy it
ARJUNA
now.
ARDAC
Yeah,
ARDAGH.
we're gonna buy this book
Buy it
now.
now. Buy it now. It's simple and easy.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.